Hey everybody. Okay, welcome to video 2 in your home buying journey, your roadmap to successful home ownership. So in video 1, we covered the little nugget in your mind that popped into your head and said, I want to buy a house. Now what do I do? So if you go back and watch that we talk about just kind of assessing your situation and making sure you have an idea of like what you're able to do. So in this video, we're going to talk about the actual pre-approval process. What is a pre-approval? Why do you need it? And kind of what are some of the basics as your lender that I look at? So first of all, what is a pre-approval? Pre-approval means I, as your lender, have looked at your credit, your income, your assets, and I've put a plan together for you so you can go out and shop confidently and find a house within your budget that you can qualify for. And you give that letter to the seller to show them that you've done your due diligence. Now, a lot of times people will say like, oh, can't I just go look? And then if I like it, you can give me a pre-approval letter. You absolutely can do that if you want. However, it's not the best way to move forward in the process. So here's kind of why. Once you start looking, I would say once you look, you buy. If you start the process of looking, then you're going to find something that you like. That's just kind of how it goes. So if you haven't done the full pre-approval process at that point, now you're behind the 8 ball and you're possibly competing with other people who are ahead of the game. So you can write an offer, and if you say like, hey, yeah, I'm talking to Tara, that seller is going to call me and ask me if I've done my due diligence for you, and I have to be able to say, I like to be able to say, yes, I have reviewed all of their information. They're good. We just have to do everything for, the property and make sure that all checks out. So that's one reason. The other reason you want a pre-approval is to know what you're actually comfortable or what you actually qualify for. There are lots and lots of factors that go into a mortgage. We're going to cover the very basics in this video. There's so many times where people just don't know everything and how we look at it. What sometimes makes sense logically isn't always the guidelines that we have to follow. So there's a set of rules that every lender has to follow for the loan type that they're doing, whether that comes from Fannie and Freddie for like a conventional loan, or if you're doing something specific with a certain bank, whatever their rules are that you have to follow. So there can be many variations of what that looks like. Also, you need to know what your budget is and what your payment is and what you're comfortable doing as a buyer. So pre-approval is very important. Ideally, when I do a pre-approval, I've looked at everything we can for you, and all we have to do is go find the property. And then hopefully the only X factor at that point is what the appraisal comes in at, and inspections and property specific things that we can't deal with ahead of time. It just makes the whole buying experience much less stressful if you get the mortgage part figured out. So what do we do in the actual pre-approval? Most of my clients will apply online. There's kind of 3 main things that I look at that tell us what kind of loan programs are available to you, how much you can afford, kind of what your plan is going to be. I talk a lot about putting your plan together. So the first thing I do when I get someone's application is I pull their credit. We can do a soft pull, or if we are doing the full pre-approval, we do a hard pull. That's all 3 credit bureaus. We use the middle of the 3. You need to understand we're not using the same number you're going to get on like Credit Karma or your bank. These are different scoring models that are for a mortgage report. And we'll talk more about that in a little more depth in another video. When there's 2 borrowers, we go off the lower of the 2 middle scores. That's the score we use to determine what programs you're eligible for and we'll use that credit score to calculate your interest rate. We're also going to look at your credit reports. We go off of your monthly payments that are on your credit report. So this is where, going back to that first video, have you looked at your budget? I'm only looking at, say, like car payments, credit cards, student loans, other installment loans, recreational loans, anything that shows up on your credit report. Usually things that aren't on your credit report are your, cell phones, insurance, gas to and from work. There's all those other things that encompass your budget. So you as the borrower need to understand all of that. I'm only looking at what's on your credit report. We do all go off monthly payments. A lot of times people will tell me the total that they owe on a car or something like that. And while there can be scenarios where that is important to know, in general, I'm looking at just your monthly payment. Probably the most critical part of a pre-approval is reviewing your income. So if you're paid hourly, what's your hourly rate? How many hours do you work? Or if you're a full-time employee, are you actually working those 40 hours a week? Do you work overtime? Do you get commissions? Do you get bonus? Is there any other variable type of income? This is where many people get in trouble. They think that they understand the number that we're going to use, and it's not. If you've recently switched a job or your type of pay has changed, or you're self-employed, there's so many factors that go into income and what we use for your qualifying income. So in general, if you're a W-2 hourly or salary employee, we'll use your hourly rate times the hours that you work, and we'll use your gross monthly income. I will say my disclaimer to this, there's always an exception to most of these rules. So please, if you want your specific scenario looked at, reach out and give me a call. If you're self-employed, that's a whole other calculation. If you are a commission employee or you receive a lot of bonuses or overtime, those are different. There's different rules to each type of different type of pay. So once we've looked at your income picture, your work history for the past 2 years, what we're looking for really is what amount of income we can use for you that we feel is going to continue moving forward. Once we've established that number, I take your income, compare it to the debts on your credit report. Also, the third kind of X factor is your down payment. Do you have your own money for your down payment that you're going to bring into the transaction, or do you need help with your down payment? That's also going to eliminate different loan options for you depending on what you have available or if you need help. So once I look at those kind of three things, your down payment, your credit score, your qualifying income, those are the three main things, like I said, that will tell me what loan options are available to you and how much you could spend on the new house. So once I figured all that out, I usually will calculate your max that you can qualify for. And then from there, you have to tell me what you're comfortable spending. Like I said at the beginning of this video, what I see on your credit reports doesn't necessarily cover everything that is part of your budget. So that's where you have to be responsible and understand what you're comfortable with spending. Once we've done all our homework, we have a good plan put together. I give you your pre-approval letter, and hopefully you're working with a real estate agent who can take you out shopping and you can start looking for the home. That makes that home search process so much easier because you know your criteria, you know your price limits, you know your payment already, and you can go into that process understanding how much you're going to spend. So as always, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I also have an app that is free. I do not sell all of your info, that helps you get mortgage ready. Or if you'd like to use that app, you're not quite ready to talk to me yet, send me a message. I'm happy to share that with you. Next video, we will talk about tips on how to save for your down payment.